It's now my great honor to introduce our keynote speaker this afternoon, Justice Verda Colvin of the Georgia Supreme Court. Justice Colvin was appointed to the Georgia Supreme Court in July 2021 by Governor Brian Kemp. Justice Colvin previously served as the Georgia Court of on the Georgia Court of Appeals and as a Superior Court judge in Macon Judicial Circuit. She's a graduate of Sweetbriar College, and I just told her that my mother was as well. And she earned her Juris Doctorate from the University of Georgia School of Law. Well, prior to serving on the bench, she's had a distinguished career throughout Georgia, and a Solicitor General in Athens, Clark County, Assistant General Counsel to Clark Atlanta University, Assistant District County Attorney in Clayton County, and an Assistant U.S. Attorney in the Middle District of Georgia. You've been busy. In addition to her judicial responsibilities, Justice Colvin is deeply committed to service and leadership in the community, and the Justice, in her spare time, currently chairs Georgia's Access to Justice Commission. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your clearly busy schedule. It's truly a privilege to welcome you here today. Please join me in welcoming Verda.
Well, we really could go to the panel after Mr. Levy's remarks. I was thinking, he stole that. So I'm so pleased to be here with you this afternoon as we honor the efforts of Georgia Legal Services, Legal Aid as well, and the founder, Legal Services Corporation. I bring you greetings on behalf of Chief Justice Boggs. He and I both share a deep commitment to access to justice because we feel like to ensure that those who have less never feel less than, we have to be committed to true access to justice. I must say, happy anniversary to Legal Services Corporation. You have continually ensured the promise of justice for 50 years. That promise has allowed GLS to have the financial assistance as well as legal aid necessary to help millions. During President Johnson's tenure, as Mr. Levy mentioned, the war on poverty prompted the government to envision providing civil legal assistance to low-income Americans. President Nixon's willingness to sign the law creating Legal Services Corporation has enabled this founder to continue your unyielding commitment to those who have less, but whose rights are no less important. You have held to learned hand statement made at the Legal Aid Society of New York in 1951. Thou shalt not ration justice. Your commitment to the last 50 years, LSC, has saved countless people throughout the United States. Thank you for standing in the gap to ensure that justice and access to justice is a reality. Preambles throughout America's history mandate that there is no they or them, only us. And all of us shall, and that's my own word, shall, have access to justice. That can only be accomplished when all people can readily redress their civil legal problems. I pledge allegiance are the beginning words to our vow, our promise, if you will, to ensure liberty and justice for all. Additionally, the preamble to the United States Constitution states, "We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice." Justice is the hallmark of our democracy. Even in the Georgia Constitution, we declare to perpetuate the principles of free government, ensure justice to all. We, the people of Georgia, do ordain and establish. As chair of the Judicial Council of Georgia's Access to Justice Committee, I am not just simply a figurehead on a committee. I am a committed advocate to ensure the quest that every Georgian has real access to justice because all people have equal worth. Along with me are the real heroes, Tabitha Ponder, the staff and director of Access to Justice, Michelle Barclay, the assistant director of AOC, and of course, the director, Cynthia Clanton, who we know as C. We are fortunate to have Georgia Legal Services and Legal Aid to meet the needs of economically disadvantaged Georgians who are facing civil issues that they're unable to navigate themselves. GLS could never assist those who need them most without the funding of the single largest founder of civil legal aid for low-income Americans, LSC. We, every citizen of Georgia, owes all of these entities, the LSC, GLS, and legal aid a debt of gratitude for epitomizing the true calling of the legal profession, and that is service. And I do this often. Sometimes I leave my notes and I have to say this. The most important thing for us who stand as attorneys is service. And service is not what you're paid for, it's what you're made of when you lend your talents, your gifts to those who could never afford to hire you as an attorney. So I just want to say thank you for what you do, because it matters. In March of this year, United Way Atlanta reported that 34% of Georgians are ALICE, asset limited, income constrained, and employed, which causes them and their families to live beneath the threshold of financial survival. Furthermore, it was reported that approximately 530,000 families live in poverty. Combined, that means that 47% of Georgia households live below the ALICE threshold. That so moved me that I researched it 3 times because I could not believe that number. But the number is real. 47% of Georgia households live below the ALICE threshold. As of October 18th, the last time I refreshed my notes, that would be approximately 1,789,604 Georgians. So while in 2021-2022, the number of households in poverty decreased by 13%, in 2024, ALICE Update Report noted that ALICE households increased by more than 65,000. Every single day, Georgia Legal Services and Legal Aid meet ALICE. She is the mom seeking to ensure that she maintains housing when the eviction notice is looming because the business where she labors had to close for a month. She is a wife with 4 kids who finally seeks assistance when the domestic violence she experiences begins to expand to her children. ALICE is even the man who just lost his job that supports his ill wife and their 2 children. A Georgian's instability does not rob him or her of the promise that we made collectively, justice for all. This is not just a concept that sounds good. It is the basis of a true democracy. Justice for all, access to justice, and increasing justice for every Georgian is a mirror that is turned facing each of us, not them. And just as each of you with GLS, LSC, and legal aid answer the call every single day, the rest of us in this legal community and our commercial neighbors must lend a hand and resources to ensure, no, demand, that assets are garnered to continue the work and expand the work to increase access to justice. Imagine, if you will, Georgia without Georgia Legal Services, without legal aid. Imagine the needs of 60% of Georgians living paycheck to paycheck, and the one unplanned expense away from financial crisis only grows. And 92% of their substantial civil legal problems get no legal help or very little help. In 2023, 55,176 low-income adults and children sought and received legal assistance from GLS. And I understand from Mr. Levy, over 23,000 sought that assistance from legal aid. That's more than 9,000 additional clients in 1 year just for GLS. This fact illustrates that the civil needs of the working poor are increasing. What might the lives of each of those individuals who have been served by these great institutions look like today if they weren't here? Simply put, these millions of individuals' needs would not have been met. Families would have lost their homes, custody of their children, experienced instability in their families, and a host of other calamities if not for Georgia Legal Services and Legal Aid, and most of all, their founder, LSC. They're meeting the needs, particularly GLS, in 154 counties in Georgia. Let's be frank. The civil legal needs of residents in 154 of the 159 counties in Georgia is simply overwhelming. Our legal deserts are a serious concern in Georgia. As of November 2023, There are 7 counties with not one lawyer. 7. Can you imagine what it means to someone struggling to make ends meet while facing a dire civil legal need? Imagine still this person struggling to make ends meet with no transportation to get to the next county over to see the 1 or 2 attorneys there. Imagine further that this individual doesn't have the money to consult an attorney. Georgia Legal Services and Legal Aid stand in that gap. We are grateful to you and to LSC. In Georgia, we have 64 counties with 10 or less attorneys. That's 64 counties out of 159 counties. 64 out of 159 counties. We're better than that. And I'm gonna go off my notes. We're number 1 in business. How can we have 69 counties out of 159 with 10 or less attorneys? 22 counties have more than 10 attorneys, but less than 25 attorneys. If you're outside of Metro Atlanta, you're without. We certainly have much to do to achieve justice for all. It was reported in March of this year that of Georgia's 20 most common occupations, 65% of those paid less than $20 per hour in 2021. It hadn't gotten much better. Georgia Legal Services and Legal Aid meets the needs of those represented in these occupations every single day. However, the legal profession must combine its efforts with both of these institutions to ensure greater access to justice for more Georgians. We are committed, and we must be committed to increasing access to justice in all that we do, and there are currently efforts underway to do so. We have 2 self-help centers in Georgia, the Family Law Information Center in Northeast Georgia and the Southwest Georgia Legal Self-Help Center located in Albany, some people say Albany, Georgia. These 2 entities were implemented because officials and the communities saw self-represented litigants unsuccessfully struggle to gain access to justice. The first one created, the Family Law Information Center, was established by Chief Judge Brenda Weaver in Northeast Georgia. She saw people in her courtroom unrepresented, not by choice, but simply because of their lot in life. They were simply unable to financially secure the legal assistance needed to address the civil issues affecting the well-being of their families. Judge Weaver sought to do something to help because she recognized that Legal Aid and Georgia Legal Services couldn't do it all. She implemented a system using navigators to assist self-represented litigants who plan to represent themselves in divorce or legitimation cases. GLS alone cannot meet the needs of the 47% of Georgians who are financially insecure, even with significant funding from LSC. The Southwest Georgia Legal Self-Help Center, located in Albany, employs staff to provide free procedural information to the public. This center was born by the Justice for All Working Group, a component of the Georgia Access to Justice. It was designed as a pilot program for the state of Georgia, after determining the need for consumers facing civil legal issues. While the staff does not provide legal advice, it does provide forms and information for navigating the court system, in addition to providing access to the internet for Georgians to access justice. GLS, you are not alone. Legal Aid, you are not alone. LSC, I understand completely as the chair of the Judicial Council for Georgia's Access to Justice Committee that your funding is not a silver bullet. It can't be. Many hands make light work. We must all lend a hand. Chief Justice Boggs has now created, just recently, within the last week and a half, the Supreme Court Committee on Legal Regulatory Reform, which includes members of the State Bar, of which I will be an ex officio member as the chair for Access to Justice. Its purpose is to determine how we can reform regulations related to the practice of law to provide more assistance to those who need legal representation. I am always pushing, always pushing. There is also a new committee to examine AI, and there indeed may be possibilities in that area. Others also observed our need to do more. Every day during Judge Bill Adams' 19 years as a state court judge in Bibb County, He saw citizens in Middle Georgia desperately trying to navigate the court system with no representation, not because they did not desire representation, but because they could not afford an attorney. And even if they could muster the finances to seek inexpensive counsel, they didn't know where to begin. Instead of retiring to constant relaxation, Judge Adams established Middle Georgia Justice. He founded the Middle Georgia Justice in 2017 to provide legal assistance to low-income working people in Middle Georgia. They began work in 2018, enlisting attorney volunteers. Middle Georgia Justice now has staff attorneys who actually assist clients in completing family and probate forms, and they represent clients with legal issues. Additionally, Middle Georgia Justice assists patrons with criminal history relief. These are just a few of the ways other entities are assisting low-income Georgians. But the efforts haven't stopped there. We see that self-help centers with navigators are effective, even though they're not perfect, but they help citizens determine the steps necessary to even address their civil issues. So now, our committee is making efforts to ensure that there are several self-help centers in every corner of Georgia. And this will increase access to justice and ensure that citizens have a bridge, at least, to addressing their civil needs, which are now going unresolved. So we are now working with the Carl Vinson Institute of Government to develop data from our existing self-help centers to make the case to our legislators that an investment in ensuring access to justice benefits the state of Georgia, and more importantly, economically disadvantaged Georgians everywhere throughout our state. But our efforts don't stop there. We have created forms for divorces with and without children, legitimation, and updated landlord-tenant forms that can be easily read by everyday citizens. And we have almost completed a form for child custody. But the efforts still don't stop there. There is currently an effort underway to develop kiosks, which will also navigate users to address their civil legal issues. All of these efforts are being pursued because the Judicial Council and the State Bar of Georgia's Access to Justice committees recognize that legal services and Georgia Legal Services, as well as Georgia Legal Services Corporation, cannot be our only answer for ensuring justice for all. I am so glad to hear Mr. Levy said that more money will be asked from our Congress, but our state can do more, and we must do more. And so with all of these efforts being made and the phenomenal work that you do every single day, we recognize you need a partner with you to ensure access to justice. We also recognize that we must move beyond and outside of our legal silos, as many of those with civil needs don't even realize their problems are legal matters. And we will continue looking for ways to do so. There is much to do, but we will not falter or relax in ensuring justice for all people. Georgia Legal Services, legal aid, and legal corporation services, the work that you do every day is hard work, but it's heart work. You do the hard work with your heart and all of your heart because you recognize the service you provide is spirit-filled work, because you do your work for the least of these, protecting the promise, the vows that we made as Americans. And while you do that, we celebrate you today, and we know this. Please understand clearly, we always celebrate the work that you do. Because as I said previously, what would we do in Georgia if you did not exist? Imagine, if you will. But what more must we do as Georgians? The work that you do every day ensures that we will forever be true to the one vow that we make as a democracy: justice for all. Thank you.